The last few items that I have rolled online have been an ice bow, and prior to that I did a mist bow. The reason that I have rolled these items is because I was planning on making a freezing arrow Amazon. This is currently my freezing arrow Amazon, which does not exist. She is level 1 currently, and I'm about to create a game and get my character up and leveled so that I can start playing around with some freezing arrow and demonstrating these two weapons. The idea of this video is that I am going to be a Frost Maiden from the get-go. So I'm only going to be using bow and arrows throughout this playthrough. I'm only going to be using the cold skill tree. I'm not going to be doing things like strafe and multi-shot and guided arrow and things like that. It's all going to be the cold arrow skills. I will recap after normal, nightmare, and hell, and then I will do a showcase of where my build is. I'm just going to create my game now. Alright, because I'm doing this online, I'm not going to be able to do the normal thing of putting it up to players 8 and smashing through some levels very quickly at the early part of the game and then just running through. I'm going to have to play this normally, but I will try and run through as quickly as I can. Alright, so I'm going to start the run now. Alright, these are some of my early game items that I have stolen from my shared stash to get me going very quickly on this. So I have 3 of the Arctic set. I thought I had the Arctic bow lying around somewhere, but it turns out I don't, so I only get the 3-piece. I'm using Hisaris. The main reason I'm using this is because it's earliest that I can get faster run walk. I have a few bits of jewelry over here. I have a Nagel, mainly for the attack rating. I don't really care about the magic find. And I have 2-piece Cathans, so that is giving me a hefty damage increase of 15 to 20 fire damage, which in the early game, 15 to 20 fire damage can be quite substantial, and it's going to help quite a lot, which is the reason I am going to be using Cathans. This 6% life stolen per hit is also going to help. Alright, I am about to start the run, and I will check in at the end of normal difficulty. Alright, so the run through normal is complete, and I have so far got a character which is up to level 26. I am, at the moment, I have a bunch of Saigon's gear on. I'm also currently using an edge bow in a reflex bow, which is just giving me +1 to bow and crossbow skills. And on my boots, I'm using Nat's boots for the 40% faster run walk because I want to be running around as quickly as possible. On swap, I just have a telestaff so I can jump through areas relatively quickly. And that is where I finish off on normal mode. So I'm kind of fading a little bit, so I might jump into Nightmare and Hell tomorrow, and I will pick this up then. Alright, when I ran through Nightmare and Hell, I had my microphone muted, so I'm just going to do a quick recap here. This is the quick run-through of me going through on Nightmare. I went through Nightmare relatively quick, but I got into Hell seriously under-leveled, so I ran the tower a couple of times to boost some levels, and I got 2 Mal runes for my efforts. I moved on to Duriel, and at this stage I was starting to really get some damage going, and I was managed to wear ice as a bow, and my AoE damage significantly included. Diablo telestomps me here, which was obviously some sort of lag, but took me by surprise. And you can see here I'm getting towards the end, and my damage is really boosting up here in Bale's throne room. So at this stage, I have just hit level 76. Right, so the playthrough is done, and we finish right here. I also need to acknowledge that I just went and got a haircut, and it turned out to be much shorter than anticipated, but I'm not going to dwell on that. What I am going to dwell on is this, the fact that my Frost Maiden is up to level 78, and I have the following gear on. I have a Harmony Bow on swap for the Vigor Aura so that I can run around super fast. I have the Night Wings on. I have a Chains of Honor. I have the Laying of Hands, the Stone of Jordan, Razor Tail, Raven, and Nat's Boot. And in terms of charms, I have these following charms in my inventory. Basically movement and damage, and that is the kinds of things that I'm looking for. I just had this torch and this Annie sitting in my shared stash, so I have thrown that on. None of this stuff is optimal. None of this stuff is min-maxed. It is all just stuff that I had laying around that I have thrown on my character. So I did pinch some of those from my physical multi-shot Amazon just to throw on here for this, but everything else is just stuff that I had laying around either on mules or in the shared stash. Obviously, the main hand is the Ice Bow, which is terribly rolled, so there is room for the damage on that to improve. My stats currently, as I stand, are 115 into Strength, which is basically just enough for gear. The strength required for Chains of Honor that I'm wearing, which is in a wire fleece at the moment, is 111. So I have 115 base, which I put in there for that. I do not need that much in there now that I have access to a torch and access to an Annie and things like that, which I did not have in my playthrough. So all of this stuff here that I have put in, all of these skills that I have put in, and all of these stats that I have put in have been like this from the playthrough. So none of this is optimized. At some point I will respec to min-max this to work out exactly what my final stats and skill points are going to be. Currently, I have 170 into Dex, and I have 165 into Vitality, and just a couple into Energy to help out with the mana problems that I have with Freezing Arrow costing 17.7 mana for every single arrow that I shoot. Currently, Freezing Arrow is at a level of 36, and it's doing a damage of 3,623 to 3,732. On the Mercenary, I just have a Tales, a Duriels, and an Insight. On higher player counts, it is almost important that you have an Infinity here. If you really don't want to run an Infinity, you could probably try and run a 4-socketed faceted armor, which may help with the minus enemy resistance. So if you have the minus enemy resistance off the bow, off the Nightwings there, and off the armor, you minus all of that amount off the Sunder that will drop the enemy res down to 95. It will probably bring it down to about 50 or something like that, which will be manageable on higher player counts. Currently on Players 1, none of that makes a difference because we just slaughter everything no matter where it is. So what we are going to do first is we are going to run through Players 1, and I'm going to show you us just completely destroying everything on this build. Also, please note that I am only level 78, and the gear that I'm rocking is nowhere near optimal. Ideally, at some stage, I will swap these out. Probably I will swap the boots out for Silkweaves, and I will probably swap the Razor Tail out for a Nosferatu's Coil. The reason that I will do that is because I have put probably too many into Pierce, so my Pierce is currently at 82%, and with the 33 from Razor Tail, I'm well over the 100%, so at level 78, I will probably put more into that and then eventually take the Razor Tail off. My Valkyrie is nearly maxed out. It is currently at a base of 17. Valkyrie is going to be our main distraction that we are using. Also on that, we have a decoy if we do find ourselves in a situation where we need another distraction. And our bow and crossbow is exactly what you would expect. It is a maxed out freezing arrow and a maxed out cold arrow for the synergy for damage. And I have put the remainder points into Ice Arrow. Ice Arrow does only do freeze length per level. It is not critical that you max this out. In fact, I could probably put less into this if I really wanted to, and max out my Pierce and my Valkyrie and take off the Razor Tail now if I was to respec. I did have one into Guided Arrow just for the playthrough. When I respec this, I will not have anything into that column, and I'll be honest, even through the playthrough I very rarely used that Guided Arrow because my Freezing Arrow was just doing so much damage, and I didn't need to worry about attack rating anyway. Alright, so let's jump into cows first up, and then we might jump over into We might just do frigid because that is a cold immune area, and that's going to give us a decent look at how we perform in an area like that. So we'll do check cows right now. We're just going to jump in here, and I will run out, and we'll see how we do in this situation on players 1. And at suboptimal gear, we are... I'd say we're doing okay. And you can see how that mana is, even with the insight, not ideal, which is why I would throw some Silkweaves on there. I just don't actually have any on me at the moment. Right, and we're performing very much like this on Players 1, which is kind of making a little bit of a joke out of the cows at the moment on Players 1, so I probably don't need to do much more. I think you're getting the idea of how much of these are just exploding as we're walking through. So I might jump over to a cold immune area, and then we'll take this to Players 8, and we can see how we perform there. Alright, so we are here in Act 5. I will run down here, and we can have a look at how we're doing with people who are generally cold immunes. And once again, we make a bit of a mockery out of that. So let's jump over to Players 8, where we can really start testing ourselves and pushing this build to the limits. So I'm actually anticipating that in Players 8, this is going to struggle a little bit. I think it will still be able to do the content. I just think it will be a little bit slow. But maybe if we optimize the gear a little bit better, we will have more success. So we'll try it like this first, and then we'll make our gear a little bit better. All right, we've jumped into an offline game here, and you can see that the game difficulty scale has been set to 8. So we are currently on Players 8 at the moment, and I should be transparent in saying that I did give us another 10 levels. So we're currently level 88 at the moment, because I felt that the 78 that we were was still very low, and we could easily push that up if we were playing through. I don't want to waste time leveling up that character. I will just jump straight over here and make it 88. I didn't go crazy. I didn't go 99. I think 88 is a fair number, so I'll just leave it there. In terms of inventory, we have basically the exact same gear that we were rocking before, only I changed our belt over to the Nosferatus, and I changed the Silkweaves, changed the Nat's boots over to the Silkweaves. And our charms here are exactly the same as we were rocking offline. Possibly even a little bit worse, actually. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to see how we can perform in Players 8 using that gear, and then I'm going to optimize the gear a little bit. All right, so we have the insight back on the mercenary now, and while we are starting in Act 5, I will jump straight out, and we will see how we go out here in Players 8, and then we'll jump to cows. Okay, so those guys were obviously cold immune normally, so they were a little bit slow. That clear speed was not brilliant. I have confidence we can boost that up. Let's go and see how we look in cows. I'm assuming that's going to be even slower. We've got the legs, so now let's jump into Players 8 cows, and we'll see how we look. Like I said, I'm anticipating that this is not going to be the most impressive thing anyone's ever seen, but this is where the testing happens. All right, this is very slow. Now that proc that you're seeing there, the confused proc, that is because I put a delirium on the mercenary. I thought it may help with crowds, for a bit of a crowd control extra. So that's where that proc is coming from. It's a very, very cheap rune word, so nothing too crazy going on there. All right, so this is less than impressive at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I will duck out and we will make some adjustments so we'll see if we can make this better. So the first thing that I will do is I will put an infinity on the mercenary and I will swap out the laying of hands for some 220s with some mana steel. So that's these here, these 220s with some mana steel. Nothing else really matters. I just care about the mana and the 2 skills and the 20 IAS. So we will put those on and let's leave it like that for now. We'll see how that goes, and if we feel like we need that extra little bit, I can throw this on to see whether that makes a difference. But I don't know if that's going to be necessary on while we have Infinity out. What I might do is I might put Insight back on at some point, and I will put the armor on, and I will see whether the 4 facets and the minus enemy cold res from the ice and the Nightwings with the 3 combined, because that's taking it down to 95 with the Sunder. We'll see if all that is enough that the mercenary can wear an Insight. So I'll do that test soon. But for now, we will see how we perform with literally just changing the gloves and having an infinity there, and it's significantly better. You can see here that the mobs are dropping. Yeah, okay, so this is significantly better. All right, so that's significantly better. I'll just see whether, a bit of an experiment, I will put the faceted armor on. Cool. This is why Insight sort of gives me some problems. And I would say that that's significantly improved that again. For players 8 cows, alright, you wouldn't think a Boazon would be running through players 8 cows like that, so this is yeah. You see when the infinity's not on, that these procs are taking a lot longer. So I'm really heavily relying on positioning from my mercenary, and without Enigma where I can position him, he's going to wander off and make that a little bit unreliable in terms of kill speed. But even without him, I'm still managing to kill quite well. In fact, that kill speed's quite good even with no infinity, which means that gives me hope that I could put the insight on him and I could still be getting that. But let's do that quickly. Let's swap now that we've seen nearly all variations. We'll put the insight on our merc now, and we will see whether I have enough minus enemy res to keep up some form of kill speed on players 8. And of course I've got a champion pack, a unique mob here. And I'm pretty happy that this is working with no infinity at all right now. So this is players 8. We have no infinity on, and we are smashing down these large mobs. Cool. Okay, so we are more than able to take off the infinity and to run players 8 cows efficiently. So obviously the infinity helps, but we can do it on our own without it, as long as we have some extra minus enemy defense going on. Another option instead of the Chains of Honor would be to run, obviously, an Enigma, and that would help you to be able to position your mercenary. It would also give you faster run walk. The only reason that I am using Chains of Honor is because our resistances, when I do not have Chains of Honor on, are absolutely terrible. So the 65 to all res from the Chains of Honor is basically helping keeping us alive, and it's putting us at 70 there, 35 here, 35 here. Obviously the minus 35 is becoming from the minus 70 from the Sunder. If I was to wear Enigma, I would be in permanent red for basically everything, and I feel like I would be a bit like one-shot dead. So even though we would have faster run walk and we could position the mercenary a little bit better, I do feel that Chains of Honor in this circumstance is a little bit better for our survivability. Anyway, that is the showcase of my Frost Maiden and the journey that I have gone through from level 1 to basically a finished build. I hope you have enjoyed that, and see you in the next one.